Coming up, uncovering how runners get abs. I'm Aaron Robinette, head coach of Athletic Power and Performance. Don't be a piece, train holistically. In this video, I'm covering 3 key areas to abdominals. There is a 4th key area, which is cardio, but for you, the runner, cardio shouldn't be an issue. When we talk about abdominals, we also want to make sure that they're functional for you. What I mean is, it needs to be functional for you as a runner and functional for you in your daily activities so that they improve the way you move as well as the way you look and feel. The first key area I'm talking about is strength training. As I talk about strength training in this particular key area, I'm not talking about directly abdominal training. I'm talking about indirectly training your abdominals through your strength training. In order to do this, we need to make sure that you're doing integrative exercises, and that's versus isolation exercises. Let me give you an example first of all of what an isolation exercise is. That would be like you're doing a preacher curl, so your arm is locked into a preacher curl and you're doing the bicep, which is working primarily the bicep and not much else. So there's no integration with the core, which means the core being the abdominals, which means you're not training your abdominals while you're doing your strength training. Integrative exercises are where you're actually doing the movement, so you're working 2 or more muscles at the same time. So that would be like, for instance, using the same bicep example, you're standing doing a bicep curl. Granted, it's not going to have a lot of abdominal training, but you're having to support your body. You're having to keep your body from swaying as long as you make sure you don't sway during that exercise. Let's transition into how to incorporate more core or more abdominals with your strength training. There's 3 key areas. The first way is to reduce your base of support. So using that same example, let's go with 1 foot doing the bicep curl. So you're having to start to stabilize your entire body as you're doing the bicep curl with the weights. That has to engage your core. The second way to do this is incorporate more than one exercise. So make the exercise more complex. So that would be like doing a lunge with a bicep curl. So you get fully into a lunge, and as you go down, you do the curl, and you go through that full exercise doing the bicep with the lunge. Making it more complex means your abdominals have to recruit much more with the exercise. The third way is actually combining those first 2. So reducing your base of support while making the exercise more complex. Using that same example of the bicep curl with the lunge, you can use an unstable device such as a Bosu ball. Put your front foot on the Bosu ball, and as you go down, you're having to stabilize, and you're doing the 2 exercises. That really ramps up the core recruitment or the abdominal recruitment in the exercise. The beauty of this is this makes it much more functional as well. Your abdominals have to actually work creating stability within the movement, which is one of the key areas the abdominals are really meant for. And that, again, improves the function of the abdominals as well as the look and your ability to move as well. The second key area, and most often overlooked when we talk about the abdominals, is nutrition. Specifically with this video, I'm talking about inflammatory foods. Foods that actually irritate your gut, irritate your organs, and cause that pooch belly or that distended abdominals. This causes 2 key issues. The first issue is you don't get the aesthetics you're looking for. You don't get that flat abs. You don't get the 6-pack look. The second, and even more of a big issue for me, is that the abdominals don't function properly. It really shuts down the function of the abdominals and leaves you exposed to potential pain and injury. One of the best ways to find out which foods are inflammatory to you is using the elimination diet. Quick protocol in the elimination diet is you want to remove certain foods for ideally up to 3 months, but even as little as 2 weeks can show you indicators that those foods may work or not work for you. The 3 key foods I always start with all my clients is removing all gluten, soy, and dairy. You want to remove all 3 of these at the same time. Removing 1 or 2 of these and not removing all 3 doesn't really work that well because you don't get the removal, your body doesn't heal properly. So start with gluten, soy, and dairy. Remove all three of those for the period of time you choose. Like I said, ideally you want to remove them for 3 months. After the period of time you choose, you got to reintroduce one food at a time. So for instance, reintroduce gluten. Try gluten for roughly about 24 to 36 hours and look for any key indicators that the food doesn't work for you. These key indicators are bloating, gas, issues with your bowels, diarrhea, constipation, issues with your energy, with your mental clarity, if you get brain fog, if you get any issues, any negative issues you have after eating this food indicates that this food probably does not work well for you. After that period of time, 24 to 36 hours, you want to again remove that food, try the second food, and we'll use the indicator of soy in this particular case. You try soy for 24 to 36 hours. Again, you're looking for any indicators. Once you found whatever results you found, remove that food, and again, try the same thing with dairy. Other foods you want to use the elimination diet protocol on are foods such as eggs, seeds, and nuts. There's a lot longer of a list, but those will give you a really good indicator of what to start with. The third key area are exercises specific for the abdominals. Again, I want to talk about functional abdominal training. As I go into this, I want to talk about one of the most used exercises that's not really functional, and that's the floor crunch exercise. The reason why I bring this up for you, the runner, is it causes a lot of issues in your particular case. The first thing is runners typically have some poor postural issues that needs to be really corrected, and the floor crunch exercises actually exacerbates that. So when you lay on the ground using the floor crunch exercise, that causes you to have forward rounded shoulders and a forward head because you're not training your abdominals in full range of motion. Doing this really reduces your ability to get full oxygen, which is obviously crucial for the runner. The other issue with the floor crunch exercise, one of the key areas for the abdominals to really help you, aside from the aesthetics, is to stabilize your body. When you do the floor crunch exercise, the floor provides the stabilization, so your abdominals are not taxed or needing to incorporate stabilization. So it's not really functional. It does not have a functional carryover to any of your activities. So the replacement for the floor crunch exercise is doing sit-ups on the Swiss ball. And using the Swiss ball creates an unstable environment, so it creates stability need for the abdominals, and you can train in full range of motion. Using the Swiss ball, doing these sit-ups, you actually want to incorporate full range of motion. You're going to go all the way back. You want your head sitting on the ball. You also want to place the tongue in the roof of your mouth. What this does is it engages your neck flexors, but the proper neck muscles. The forward head is caused by the overactivation of the sternocleidomastoid muscles. When your tongue is on the roof of your mouth and you do the abdominal training, as I'm going to show you in just a second, you're actually going to use the hyoid muscles, the infra and super hyoid muscles, tongue's on the roof of your mouth, and that engages these muscles which pulls your neck in more of a neutral alignment. So the first movement, what you're going to do is you're going to bring your, again, tongue in the roof of your mouth, fingers in your ears in this particular case. That gives you your pivot point for your head. So you're going to bring your chin towards your chest, then you're going to bring your ribs up towards your pelvis. Your third movement is actually going to open everything up from your ribs to your pelvis. And then the fourth movement is replacing your head back to the ball. One key thing to be aware of is if you get nauseous or you get dizzy using this exercise, you may have an atlas issue. And the atlas is the very top vertebra of the spine. If your atlas is out, this can cause a lot of different issues, and you want to have your atlas checked. A couple areas to go is either a NUCA or a Blair chiropractor or someone else that assesses the atlas. The second exercise for you, the runner, is the lower abdominals. Lower abdominals are a very key muscle, and this is an area runners and non-runners alike, I find a lot of people have an issue with, and very weak lower abdominals. especially compared to the hip flexors. Where this comes into play for you, the runner, when you take your stride forward, the hip flexor really engages, and if you have weak lower abdominals, your pelvis is going to tip forward. And over a long period of training, what ends up happening is your low back is going to take the brunt of that, and you're going to start having pain and ultimately injury in your low back. So you really want to train your lower abdominals. The third and final exercise for you, the runner, is an oblique twist. This particular case, I'm showing you the oblique twist using tubing and coming across with a tube. The reason why this is so important is as you, the runner, you are a rotational athlete. Not as much as a golfer or a baseball player or somebody like that. But every time you take a stride forward, so as your right leg comes forward, your left arm comes forward, that twists your body. And every stride you take, your body's twisting back and forth. So doing a standing oblique twist really engages the muscles you need to help your stride length and, of course, help the aesthetics as well. So that improves your function, the way you move, and, of course, the way you feel. If you like the information on this video and you want more on distance running, go over to my channel and check out the series on distance running. And for my latest uploads, subscribe to my channel.